Okay. So tonight we're going to be looking at Choiceless Awareness by Krishnamurti, J. Krishnamurti. And he's going to talk tonight about relationships. And I think this is really a pivotal point in his teaching because he's telling us, and you'll hear what he has to say, but he's telling us that if we really want to know ourselves, now that's the ego self. If we really want to know who we are as a me, the best way to learn about who we are is in relationship, because it's in relationship that this center really manifests itself with all its conditioning, with all its fears, with all its desires, with all its agendas. That's where we really can begin to see who we are as this me. And I'm going to start and let him tell you what he says. I just have to change my glasses. Self-knowledge is not a thing to be bought in books, nor is it the outcome of a long, painful practice and discipline, but it is awareness from moment to moment of every thought and feeling as it arises in relationship. Relationship is not on an abstract ideological level, but on an actuality. The relationship that we have with property, with people, and with ideas. Relationship implies existence, and as nothing can live in isolation, to be is to be related. Our conflict is in relationship at all the levels of our existence. And the understanding of this relationship completely and extensively is the only real problem that each one has. This problem cannot be postponed nor be avoided. The avoidance of it only creates further conflict and misery. The escape from it only brings about thoughtlessness, which is exploited by the crafty and by the ambitious. To understand conflict, we must understand relationship. And the understanding of relationship does not depend on memory, on habit, on what has been or what should be. It depends on choiceless awareness from moment to moment. And if we go into it deeply, we shall see that in that awareness, there is no accumulative process at all. So now what he means by that is if we are really aware, choicelessly aware, that means without any kind of opinion or conclusion, just aware, choicelessly aware of what's going on moment by moment in relationship. He says, then there's not an accumulation. How does he put it? I'll tell you. Then there is no accumulative process.
Mm.
The accumulative process is the creation of the me. So he says, the moment there is accumulation, there is a point from which to examine, and that point is conditioned. And hence, when we regard relationship from a fixed point, There must be pain. There must be conflict.
So hold on a second. So he's talking about choiceless awareness, which is just observing
Right,
without commenting,
right,
without an opinion. Because when there's an opinion, I'm right, you're wrong, I should have done this, I could have said that, why did he or she do that? That those comments are the accumulation that he's
right,
talking about. And those comments are the building up of the center, which is me, my opinion, my way of looking. And
right,
then from that me, I operate. That's the center that he's talking about.
right,
And then that skews the unfolding of the relationship because now I'm looking at it with a biased perception. I'm no longer choicelessly aware. I may be aware, but I'm opinionated now. I'm biased with what I see.
right,
Go ahead.
right.
Evie, I'm sorry. Could I ask you one quick question?
Sure,
Sure.
sure.
So you're saying the purpose of this behind this choiceless awareness is to come to know the me?
No, to be free of the me.
But he says
Okay.
in relationship is how you see it operate.
In relationship is how you see it operate. So when it operates with, like Paul just said, with opinions, with conclusions, with bias, with prejudice, with our conditioning, with our conditioning, then you're in relationship with as a me, and the awareness isn't pure awareness. It's me thinking awareness. So, choiceless awareness means the absence of a me. There's no
Okay.
me there.
So the purpose behind it is to become aware of the me.
Will
The
you get?
choiceless awareness is to recognize that this me, in fact, doesn't exist, basically. That's
Yes, that there is
To see how it's
to see
operating.
to see that to be choiceless aware in a relationship. So I'm having a relationship with you. In that relationship with you, you're saying something to me. I listen very attentively to what you're saying. And in that attention, there's no bias, there's no judgment, there's no conclusion. I'm just listening. And in that listening, there's an awareness, but it's choiceless. I'm not making a choice here. I'm not choosing uh, to listen to you from my perspective. I am not choosing to hear you through my conditioned response.
Well, most of the time when we listen through the eye. That's the way we've been brought up.
Through the me, yes, the
Everything is
I, the
always
me.
listening. So I think that's part of the thing of what he's saying is to become aware that that's what you do. And if you want to hear something without any prejudice, any bias, if you just want to hear what's being said, you can't hear it through the eye.
Right.
Got to be able to pause the eye, and then which I find extremely difficult, by the way. It's not easy.
Yes, well, but as he said just before, but there can be, again, you're right, Chip, a choiceless awareness of how the me is operating now. So in other words, if you're saying something to me and I'm having a reaction of I don't know, a judgmental reaction, a hurt reaction, a critical reaction, if I'm having a reaction, I'm not being choicelessly
Understand.
aware of what you're saying, and I'm not being choicelessly aware of how I'm responding. However, in our relationship, as there is an awareness of a reaction on my part, in that moment, the me has paused because in that moment, there was a choiceless awareness. And it was choiceless because there was no commentary on it. There was no judgment about it. There was no, oh, why did I do that? I shouldn't have said that. Right? It's just a pure observation that there was a reaction in here toward out there, toward what was coming toward me. And really, that's not non-duality, right? Non-duality is existent in the moment, in relationship, when there is no me nor any image of a me, and where there is no image of a you. So I am fully present, fully attentive to what you're saying. Let's go on and see, because he clarifies it even more. Okay. To understand the whole process of oneself requires constant alertness, awareness in the action of relationship. There must be a constant watching of every incident without choice, without condemnation or acceptance, with a certain sense of dispassion. All right, I'll explain later. A certain sense of dispassion so that the truth of every incident is revealed. But this self-knowledge is not a result, an end. There is no end to self-knowledge. It is a constant process of understanding, which comes about only when one begins objectively and goes deeper and deeper into the whole problem of daily living, which is the you and the me in relationship. What do we mean by the word relationship? Are we ever related to anyone? Or is the relationship between two images which we have created about each other? I have an image about you, and you have an image about me. I have an image about you as my wife, as my husband, or whatever it is. And you have an image of me also. The relationship between these two images, the relationship is between these two images and nothing else. The relationship is between these. To have a relationship with another is only possible when there is no image. When I can look at you and you can look at me without the image of memory, of insults, and all the rest, then there is a relationship. But the very nature of the observer, the me, the observing me, is the image, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
My image observes your image, if it's possible to observe it, and this is called relationship. But it's between two images. A relationship which is non-existent because both are images.
Hmm.
I have an image about myself. You have an image about yourself. You have an image about me. I have an image about you. So the relationship is between images. Images aren't real, they're images. So to be related means to be in contact. Contact must be something direct, not between two images. It requires a great deal of attention and awareness to look at another without the image which I have about that person. The image being my memories of that person, how he insulted me, or how he pleased me, how he's given me pleasure, this or that, only when there are no images between the two, is there a relationship? So, one has an idea, a symbol about oneself, an image of oneself, of what one should be, of what one is, or what one should not be. Why does one create an image about oneself? I'll repeat that question. Why does one create an image about oneself? We think we should be this or that, the ideal, the hero, the example. What awakens anger is that our ideal, the idea that we have of ourselves, is attacked. And our idea about ourselves is our escape from the fact of what we are. But when you are observing the actual fact of what you are, no one can hurt you. Then, if one is a liar and is told that one is a liar, it does not mean that one is hurt. It's a fact. But when you're pretending that you're not a liar and are told that you are, well, then you get angry and violent. So we are always living in an idealational world, a world of myth, and never in the world of actuality. To observe what is, to see it actually, be familiar with it, there must be no judgment, no evaluation, no opinion, and no fear. To actually be able to see the what is in the moment, in relationship. There can't be a me there. It's the me that carries the judgment, the evaluations, the opinion, and the fear.
And the hurt.
And the hurt. Yes, very much, and the hurt. So is it possible to observe without the me, without the thinker? I look at everything with an image, with a symbol, with a memory, with knowledge. I look at my friend, at my wife, at my neighbor, at the boss, with the image which thought has built. I look at my wife with the image that I have about her, and she looks at me with the image she has about me, and the relationship is between these two images. This is a fact. It's not an invention on my part. It's a fact. Thought has built these symbols, these images and ideas. Can I look? Can I look? At first, at a tree, at a flower, at the sky, at the cloud, without an image. The image of the tree is the word I have learned, which gives a certain name to the tree. It tells its species and recalls its beauties. Can I look at that tree, at that cloud, at that flower without thought, without the image, without naming it? That's fairly easy to do if you've done it. But can I look without the image at a human being with whom I am intimate, whom I consider as a wife, a husband, a child? If I can't, there is no real relationship. The only relationship is between the images that we both have. So can I look at life, the clouds, the stars, the trees, the rivers, the bird on the wing, my wife, my child, my neighbor, this whole earth. Can I look at it at all without the image? Though you have insulted me, though you have hurt me, though you have said nasty things about me or praised me, can I look at you without the image or the memory of what you have done and said to me? Do see the importance of this, because it's only a mind that has retained the memories of hurt, of insult, that is ready to forgive if it is at all inclined that way. A mind that is not storing up insults, the flatteries that it receives, has nothing to forgive or not forgive. Therefore, there is no conflict. Thought has created these images, both inwardly and outwardly. Can the images come to an end? And can thought look at everything in life afresh, fresh, new? If you can do this, you will find that without your conscious, deliberate effort to change, change has taken place, a radical change. So,
Well, we're talking about relationships, right?
Mhm.
So if one aspires or is able to achieve this and the other doesn't,
mhm.
does that action create the change in the other potentially?
Potentially it might. It very well might. And actually, it usually does,
Hmm.
because you're no longer responding to an image of that person. And so the person feels
Mhm.
heard, understood, seen.
Oh, I see. That's
Mhm.
very powerful.
Mhm. That's what he's talking about. Yeah. Yeah. And, obviously he's talking about psychological images, but even when he talks about the tree, the cloud, the sky, so what happens is, you see, we see it before we name it, right? Uh, you see a tree before you name it tree. The seeing is before, and then a second later, thought comes in and names it. And then the seeing of the tree is no longer fresh and clear, because now we've put it in a category, we've named it species, what we know about it. And so we're not seeing it any longer without an image. Now we're seeing it through the image. It's a really fun exercise, to look at a flower or a tree or a bird and a cat, a dog, to look and see if you can look at
Like you saw it for the
that
first time.
as if you're seeing it for the first time without naming it. And suddenly, when you do that, what is being seen, well, you see, then there's just the seeing. And the me and that which is seen is no longer divided. See, that's non duality,
Mhm.
because there's a direct seeing. It's a seeing, it's not me seeing.
Mhm.
So, that which is seen And the observer that is seeing it is one. And there's a richness in that and a beauty in that. It's undescribable. So, but as he said, it's easy to do that with a tree. It's much harder to do that with a person that you're intimate with, or a person that you're close to, or even a person you're casually friendly with, to be able to see that person without an image that you've already created based on the times you've been together. And right. I know years ago, we had a couple that we saw in counseling, and the husband was criticizing the wife about some things, and she turned to him and she said, "You have me so figured out, you won't let me be new."
Mhm.
And that was true, because he kept plugging her into the image that he had of her, of all the time she disappointed him, of all the time she hurt him. That's how they were relating. But now it's not only your relationship with people, it's your relationship with ideas. It's your relationship with your creativity, right? When you come to, when you're attempting to create, and you come to it with the me and all the thoughts about me, well, according to Krishnamurti, that's not true creativity. True creativity is when there is no me, and then thought becomes the instrument that manifests the creativity.
Well, if I'm trying to write something, let's say,
Yes.
and I approach the blank page with images of either defeatism uh, or
Comparison.
comparison or grandiosity, they all get in the way of a direct expression of whatever the creative impulse might be.
Well, because then the mind isn't silent.
Exactly.
It's the chatter of the me going. But when there is no chatter, when the mind is really silent, because you're not attached to the outcome, you're not after that for glory, you're not comparing yourself to anybody else. So the mind is quiet. And in that silence, there is an insight that happens. And suddenly, there is creation. Now, thought manifests, you have to write it in thought, whether it's a piece of music or it's a poem, or
Then the thought is an instrument
the thought is an instrument.
rather than an obstacle.
That's right. The thought, if you're writing it from a me, then thought is writing it, not creation. You see. So, so it's interesting, as he said, relationship to not only people, but ideas. He said relationship to property. To begin to see what goes on, how the me manifests itself. It's really interesting, especially when a fear arises, a fear of failing, a fear of being ill, a fear of not being good enough.
And I recently sat with a couple in a long-term marriage, and there was a betrayal, an infidelity, and the pain on both parties was just so intense and just so raw. And um, but as an observer, one could sit there and observe all the pain and the turmoil and the anguish and see how much of it was image driven.
Yes, that was the hurt.
Right.
It was the images that got hurt.
Absolutely. So,
That's what gets hurt.
right.
So if I have an image of myself as a fabulous mother, and my son or my daughter comes to me and says something to me that puts a pin in that image, oh, there's so much hurt. But it's the image that got hurt. If there was no image of mother, but just present with this other human being, then there's a different seeing. There's a different hearing.
Yeah. Well, but there would still be a betrayal of trust in the example that I'm giving.
Yes.
But wait,
Yes.
what makes the betrayal of trust such a difficult obstacle to get over and to move forward into a clear space is the image of
Yeah.
How great a husband I was, how I didn't deserve this.
Yes.
And then I watch the movies in my mind of what I think might have happened with you and this other person.
Right.
And that's the standard image-driven suffering that usually complicates getting over a breach of trust.
Right. And it's interesting because as you sit there going over all the incidents, those incidents are the past.
Absolutely.
And you're reliving them in the present.
Right.
So it's important also to see how much of our life is really lived in the past.
The
psychological
Yeah.
past I'm talking about,
Yes.
obviously. The psychological me, the psychological past. Because the me is the past.
All thoughts are the past.
All thoughts are the past.
So whenever you're thinking, it's something that's happened already.
Unless,
No.
unless
In the
in the creative process, there is an insight that is not thought driven,
thought manifests itself.
but thought then manifests itself. See, that's what thought was meant to be.
Pointer.
Thought was meant to be an instrument to the human insight, to the humanity living on this fabulous planet and living a life of peace and plenty.
Well, thought is the cognitive aspect of consciousness. And as such, it's a pointer to manifest creativity. But as we've seen, thought takes on a life of its own.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Unwatched creates a lot of unnecessary mischief.
It creates a me.
Yeah.
With all my memories, with all my experiences, with all the hurts, with all the joys, with all the joys.
With all the conditioning that's been going on
And
since born.
yes,
I
yes,
think that contributes a great deal in how I think.
absolutely it does.
I find it very difficult at times I understand Krishnamurti. I think he is it. The rest of the guys can go home as far as I'm concerned. But he's an idealist in the sense that what he's asking me to do is very, very difficult at times. I can get little glimpses of it, but I can't be present all the time
No,
because
no.
most of the times when I'm present, I'm in a mood. I'm angry, I'm happy, I'm this, I'm that, and the other thing. And then after a certain amount of time, I go back and I say, ah, that's what happened. Now I'm analyzing the damn thing. So this becomes difficult for
Yeah.
me.
Okay, so the question is though, can I begin to see it in the moment it's happening rather than an hour later when I say, oh my goodness, what did I say? What did I do? Can, and I think that's what begins to happen, right, Paul? You begin to see it as it's happening in the moment.
At times, once in a while.
Well,
Ugo, it's yeah, it's very interesting because you said what he's asking me to do. You just said this. I love Krishnamurti. What he's asking me to do is very difficult for me.
Yep.
It's just so interesting that you said that, right? Because you're
I
saying what
don't
he's
know.
asking. Well, just let's just think about it. What he's asking me, the me, right? What he's asking me to do is very difficult. So that's the quintessential statement of the egoic self, right?
correct.
That's that's exactly what we've been talking about.
That's right. Correct. That's right.
Sorry, Evie, to interrupt you. I just wanted to say that.
No, no, no. No, you're right. That's absolutely right. That's the me shutting the doors of the mind and
Yep.
saying it's really hard what he wants. No, I'm open to it. If in the moment there's an awareness, a choiceless awareness of the me acting out, so be it. And if it's not, it's not. However, the more times that I'm able to, in the moment, while it's happening in the moment, to have that awareness of that happening, I'm out of the me isn't there. There was you pulled the plug on it in that moment. And then the next time and the next time, it's closer to it. Paul, you used to give a good example with parent and children.
No, well, it's like the mother that goes to therapy because she beats her child. And the therapist examines her childhood and they go back and they see that she was abused as a child. And a lot of insights are accumulated. But it doesn't amount to a hill of beans unless the next time that mother goes to slap the child, she has an in the moment awareness and sees herself about to do what she's been talking about in therapy for a long time. Then there's an interruption and she does something different. She doesn't slap the child, but she's awake in that moment. She's
Yes,
no longer automatically reacting
right,
from a conditioned self.
right, right. So even if she's aware of it an hour later, at least there's an awareness now that I did exactly what I told myself I was
Mm.
not going to do, I was going to watch for. Okay, the next time it won't be an hour later. Maybe it'll be a half hour later or 15 minutes later until eventually it's in the moment awareness. That's really what he's saying. He's saying moment to moment awareness of this me, the acting out of this me. That really, when we examine it, does it even exist? Where is it? This me.
Now you got to go back to Wheeler.
You're right. You're right. That's right. That's right, Ugo. Will is great with that.
Yep.
Mhm. Mhm.
Where
So
does learning come into this? Is learning a process that coexists with this philosophy?
the awareness is the learning.
Okay, so out of learning, you have a remnant of what you've experienced. And isn't that the full cycle doing it all over again? Because you're learning and you're witnessing, but you're also creating another me because you've learned something.
Ah, ah, ah. No, it's the learning is in that moment, in that the seeing is the doing. That's the learning. So, in other words, like Paul was talking about the mother that wants to slap the child, seeing that in the moment, the hand comes down. There's no hitting. The
That's the
seeing
learning.
is the doing, and that is the learning.
It's a learning. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, because otherwise, you're right,
It would be.
Tina. Then we're recreating me's. No,
Yeah.
right? No, no, no.
It seems
Uh,
like
but
it
crucial.
seems like to be choicelessly aware, you almost have to make a choice to be choicefully aware. So it sounds like a decision that's made by something. And what happens? Does it just become suddenly aware of itself naturally? Or
Mm,
how does that happen?
No, uh, it's not like I'm going to meet you for coffee and I'm saying to myself, I'm going to now be choicelessly aware. No, I know that I want to be in relationship with you. So I I am going to be attentive to you. In that attention, there is choiceless awareness because in that attention, one sees the reaction arising. One begins to see what's going on here between us. And in that seeing, when there's no comments, no judgment, just a pure observation, a pure seeing or a pure witnessing, that's choiceless awareness.
Hold on a second. It's so funny you asked that question because I was just about to say that in response to Dina and the learning, clearly what's crucial though is um, is the understanding that I can be a witness to what floats on the stream of my consciousness. I no longer have to live in total reactivity. So if I'm living in total reactivity and then someone points this out to me, that there's this capacity that you have to witness, to observe thoughts, feelings. Well, now that changes because I no longer have to be purely reactive. Now there's a gap between reacting and observing. But the witnessing consciousness is a new idea, so to speak, and something that's been introduced to me, and that I need to give it attention. I devote attention to it. I cultivate it. I want it. I see it's beneficial to my unfolding life in a positive way. And so I give attention to it. It becomes more important.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant insight, Frank. Actually, it's like this idea of how do we go from a strictly reactive
Mm,
mind that we're a prisoner of? How can we go from that? How can we leverage these different ideas to go from a reactive mind to go to an entirely what Krishnamurti is calling choiceless awareness mind, which is basically the relinquishment of the egoic response in a way. That's at least that's the ideal.
yeah.
So it's really cool. But I think you're really onto something there with that because it's that question of how do we go, we have these, like what Paul's saying, I think is also brilliant. We have these notions of like the concept of a witness, these different ideas that we read from these different sages or teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And then in order for them to really have value in our life, we have to sort of practice them. They're like recipes, that are, or pointers, there's lots of different languages for it, saying, this is possible, but
Yes.
you have to try it. And in trying it, what you're really trying to do is um, you're trying to reject the tyranny of the mind, the tyranny of the reactive mind.
Right.
Mm.
And it's through the recognition that there's another option, there's another choice, like what Paul's talking about with the therapy with a woman that's hits her
Right.
kid. It's another choice. We can do this differently, and the way that we eventually do it is through the awareness of another choice, and then that awareness basically presenting basically these little portals of another direction, another choice to make, or in this methodology, the choiceless,
Yes.
which is basically,
Yes.
it's a tool.
Right.
It's a
It's the two.
practice.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a
tool.
practice to start to allow us to leverage these new ideas to actually bring us into a new state
Correct.
of awareness that
Right.
actually allows us to revision the mind and
Yes.
the way we interact with the mind.
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
Right.
if I'm still taking deeply embedded screws out with a hand screwdriver laboriously, and then somebody shows me an electric drill, right? Well, the next time I go to do that work, I have to remember, oh, wait, there's another tool I can use here, and try to, break the habit of doing it the old way.
Absolutely.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Well, we have to stop a little early tonight because we have to wrap up this recording and go over it and name it, and then we have to be on time to watch the American Revolution.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
Jack.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
Good
next
night,
time.
all.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Buonanotte. Buonanotte.
Thank you. Thank you.
Buonanotte.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank